We're seeing some recent cracks in the U.S. economy, right? You've got retail and auto sales down. You've got forecasts for first quarter earnings looking lower than has been expected to fall for the first time since 2012. Is this a blip, or is this the beginning of a bigger shift?
I don't see any real weakness in the economy. Home building has been slow and it continues slow, but the economy's been improving since the fall of 2009, and it continues to improve. So I just don't see it. I've seen the February figures for our companies, and there's parts that are a little stronger than others, but that's been the case ever since the fall of 2009. We've been on an upward course, and people talk about double dips and they talk about acceleration. And in the end, it just keeps moving ahead. And I think it's quite a tribute, actually, to our policymakers all the way back to the fall of 2008 that we've recovered like we have from what was an incredible panic.
Fed Chair Janet Yellen said on Friday, if underlying conditions had truly returned to normal, the economy should be booming. Where's the risk?
Well, I don't think there's a particular risk in the economy over time. We will have recessions from time to time. And we had a real doozy in the fall of 2008 and early 2009. And that has had more consequences than other recessions have had post-World War II. But the American economy is a wonderful machine. It really works. It's worked since 1776, and it'll continue to work. But we will continue to have ups and downs.
Because for some Americans, they listen to that and they say, it's not working for me. Yeah. And they see stagnant wage growth. And they feel like it's getting increasingly hard to get by year. So who's winning? Wall Street? Main Street?
The extreme rich are clearly winning. I mean, if you look at the Forbes 400, they had an aggregate net worth of $92 billion in 1982. It's $2.3 trillion today, 25 times as much. So the very rich have done exceptionally well in this economy. Other people have done okay on balance, but it's certainly the super rich. It's really been concentrated. You can just look at that figure from 92 billion to 2.3 trillion.
Right, but when it comes to wages, we've seen Walmart, for example, and some other companies follow in its footsteps, raising what they will pay their entry-level workers up to $10 by 2016. Last year, when I asked you, Warren, if the federal minimum wage should be raised from $7.25 an hour, you said that is the toughest question you could ask me because I've been thinking about it for 50 years and I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
And your reason for that is because you don't know if more people will be better off because you do lose some employment.
I know if you increase it to $20, I'd like to see everybody make $20 an hour at a minimum. But I know if you increase it to $20 an hour, you'd have millions of people unemployed. I don't know how to calibrate it precisely. I personally believe that the earned income tax credit is a much better way of handling the problem of people who are really not paid enough to live decently. And the earned income tax credit accounted for $56 or $7 billion in 2013. Mm-hmm. I would expand that a lot, and I would do it smarter too. But I think that's more effective in helping the people who are really at the lower end than actually a change in the minimum wage.
Why should people care about income inequality?
Well, I think that we live in a country that has $54,000 of GDP per capita, and it's the richest country in the world, and a miracle in many ways. And real GDP is 6 times what it was per capita when I was born, but all kinds of people are left behind. And there are some structural reasons for that, and I think that a rich family takes care of the people that aren't born with a particular wiring that enables them to prosper mightily in a market economy. And there's lots of people that they fight in Afghanistan, they do all, they, through no fault of their own, their skills are not skills that the market values highly. And I think that a rich society, a very rich society, can figure out ways to have those people do better than they are doing. What
happens to this country if the gap isn't narrowed between the rich and the poor? What happens?
I would like to say something will happen politically, but it's gone on now for quite a while, for several decades. And we had to Occupy Wall Street and a few things, but so far there really hasn't been that much of a political reaction. You would hope it would happen through the ballot box, but with Citizens United and other decisions that enable the rich to contribute really unlimited amounts, that actually tilts the balance even more toward the ultra-rich. And so the ballot box is the ultimate answer for changes in policy. But the unlimited giving to parties and to candidates really pushes us more toward a plutocracy. You know, they say it's free speech, but somebody can speak 20 or 30 million times, and my cleaning lady can't speak at all.
So I do want to ask you about politics. Hillary Clinton, you've been a staunch supporter of Hillary Clinton.
I still am.
You still are. You've told me multiple times you want her to be the next president.
I hope so.
Of the United States. She's faced some headwinds recently, particularly over her emails while at the State Department. Has it changed your view at all?
No. I'd like to see your emails too, Poppy, but you know, there's a curiosity factor. But no, what I care about is what she believes in, and her ability to get what she believes in turned into law.
Do you think she's going to be the next president?
I think so.
Last year, you donated $25,000 to a group supporting Hillary Clinton. Is that right? And you have told me before that you really don't like super PACs.
Yeah. Yeah,
and so
it's a good one, because I did not know it was a super PAC. I asked. They had a maximum, which was 25,000. I didn't. You know, I think of super PACs as these things with hundreds of thousands or millions in them. I did not know it was a super PAC. I do not. I am not for super PACs, but it's absolutely true that I contributed $25,000, which I later found out was a super PAC. That does not get into the millions of dollars that I associate it with.
But I mean, it's an indication of how much you are a supporter of hers.
I support her,
been.
But I would not write a huge check. I would go out and raise money for it. I mean, I'd be delighted to do that, and I would hope to do it. I did some of that in 2008, but I just don't believe that the election should be decided by the super rich.
By the super rich, like
yeah.
What does money in politics do to this democracy? The super rich. What does it do if everyone in your income bracket did write checks as big as they wanted?
You'd have an awful lot of people. You'd have a lot of people in Congress who would be listening to them. That's for sure. No, you can't blame anybody. I mean, if you pour your heart and soul into running for election and your opponent's outspending you, you know, obviously it's very tempting to take a very big check for somebody who has a special interest, but I think it is counter to our ideas of democracy to allow unlimited campaign contributions.
U.S. stocks are near record levels. We still have a wage growth problem in this country. We still have 2.7 million people long-term unemployed, so we've got some problems. And you said this year, periodically, financial markets will become divorced from reality. You can count on that. Are U.S. markets that way right now? Not
yet, but they've moved a long way up, and they could get. I mean, we could have overpriced stock markets. We've had them, various times in the last 150 or plus years, and we'll have them again. And it's always easier to identify them in retrospect, but they'll happen. And you'll have underpriced markets too, which is now it gets much more interesting to talk about, because that will happen the same way.
But are we close? It sounds like you're saying.
Well, we are closer than we were before, obviously, when the market goes on the S&P from 666 or so to 2100. I mean, that is a big move. But stocks were very cheap then at that time, and they went into a range of modest undervaluation, fair valuation. They might be a little on the high side now, but they've not gone into bubble territory, anything of the sort.
Not gone into bubble territory.
No.
What about a tech bubble? Are we living 1999 all over again? The Nasdaq's right near that 5,000 level.
Well, but that it's a different composition to some extent now. I mean, Apple deserves to sell for a lot of.
They're very different companies.
Oh, very different companies. They were eyeballs then, and they're profits now in many cases. I can't speak to any given industry that well, but I do not regard us as being in bubble territory. But I don't find cheap stocks to buy either.
You don't find cheap stocks to buy? Nothing.
Very few.
Nothing right now. I want to talk about Greece. Do you think we will see a Greek exit from the Eurozone?
I don't know whether we'll see it. I just have no notion on that. I do know that the Euro has had certain what I would call structural weaknesses since it was formed. That doesn't mean it isn't a good idea. It doesn't mean that they can't be corrected. I mean, we've amended our Constitution many times. But putting together a group of countries with significantly different fiscal policies, labor laws, cultures, and then trying to tie them all to a single currency can present strains as you go down the road. And
as we're seeing.
And they either have to learn to harmonize or be forced to harmonize some other important economic characteristics of the countries more, or they can't all stay on a common currency. You can't have one thing that moves in lockstep and everything else scattered around the horizon.
When you say harmonize, it makes me think this. Do you think that it is realistic, even if there are big structural changes, say in Greece, that we will see Greece and Germany sort of singing Kumbaya together?
It does seem a little far-fetched, doesn't it? But whether it'll be Greece or not, I don't know. But I do think that the countries have to operate on reasonably harmonious arrangements in fiscal policy and labor laws and so on. You can't have two different. I mean, we could not hook up with Venezuela and have a common currency.
So could it be?
But we could hook up perhaps with Canada and have a common currency. You know.
Sure. Do you think that a Greek exit for the Eurozone may actually be better in the long run?
It's hard to tell. But if it leads to a sounder basis for the resulting euro, it certainly could be.
It could be. Let's move on to this. One Twitter user, we solicited questions from our viewers on social media, wrote, in your opinion, what is the best thing that can be done to reduce poverty on a global scale?
Well, at the Gates Foundation, we think that health is probably the number one thing. I mean, if you aren't healthy and you don't have access to vaccines and other aids to better health, you really don't have anything going for you. And so I think that if you're talking about global, I think that development and distribution of vaccines, we're trying to wipe out polio now, but take malaria, whatever it may be. You want a healthier world first.
Is there one thing you think, one piece of technology that you think is making and will make the biggest change? Melinda Gates, for example, told me that the smartphone, for example, is completely changing the game.
I don't know if
on that front.
If you're trying to live on $1 a day or $2 a day, and or if you got 2 acres of land to support your family, or I'm not sure what a smartphone's necessarily going to do for you, but I think my son works on increasing agricultural productivity around the world. That could be a tremendous help to people. I mean, if they've got small amounts of land and you can make it more productive, they're going to live better. Nothing there is going to be accomplished overnight or in a year or 5 years.
You've pledged almost all of your wealth to philanthropy.
Right, 99% plus.
And a lot of other billionaires have joined in that with you.
A lot.
What global issues can be solved through philanthropy, not just relying on, the marketplace or capitalism? What issues can we solve through philanthropy?
Well, we won't solve anything in the ultimate. I mean, we're never going to get 7 billion people, have them all educated as well as we'd like or all as healthy as we'd like. But things can be done in a major way in terms of health, in terms of family planning, in terms of education, and you try to figure out, if you really believe that every life is of equal value, every human life is of equal value, that means a different thing in some impoverished nation than it means in the United States. And you simply try to improve the lot of humans wherever they may be, just like your own children.
Is the American dream still alive and well?
Oh, the American dream is alive and well, but it isn't for a good many people.
Is it hard for you to see that? Because in your lifetime, you've seen stages where it was very much more alive and well for more people.
Well, it's been alive and well for a lot of people, but there are people that aren't. The American dream is based in part on a market system and the rule of law and equality of opportunity and all of that. But a market system is going to leave a lot of people behind. And then that's where government comes in. That's why we put in Social Security and some things of that sort. The American dream, in the sense that anybody can move up into some top economic class or become president of the United States, whatever it may be, that is a dream. The social mobility has always been relatively good in this country compared to the rest of the world. But there are limitations to the American dream. I mean, if someone is born with a subnormal intelligence, they can have some dreams, but they're not going to move into the top economic class in all probability, unless they happen to be the child of some super rich person.
So we will see who the next president will be, if it will be Hillary Clinton, as you'd like to see, or someone else. Whoever the next president of the United States is, what is the one thing that they and Congress can do to make sure that that American dream is a little bit more alive for more people?
No, I think the earned income tax credit is, enormously important. I think another $100 billion devoted to that could change. If there's 23 or 4 million families in the bottom quintile of income, and with the top being $21,000, I think that group, I want them to work. I want to reward work. But that's what the tax credit does. You'd have to be working to get it. But I think that could be expanded significantly. And I think you could improve dramatically the lives of a lot of people who are struggling like hell to improve their own. But
in the near term.
In the near term.